Women Making Moves, where we celebrate the moves that women are making. My name is Amy Pons, founder of Unlock the Magic Coaching and Healing. I'm joined today with Pepper Miller. Pepper is a respected market researcher, cultural insights expert, thought leader, author, and speaker. Since 1995, Pepper has been on the front lines helping Fortune 500 companies and nonprofits better understand and positively engage Black America. Through her expertise, she has shaped innovative research methodologies and strategies that reveal the power of Black cultural insights, helping brands build deeper connections with diverse audiences. Pepper encourages audiences to think more broadly and differently about Black America by discussing simple ideas and taboo topics, enabling them to tailor marketing strategies that are both more inclusive and effective. Pepper's insights and proven results have positioned her as a sought-after counselor for corporations such as AARP, BET, Bravo, CNN, McDonald's, Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, Unilever, U.S. Bank, Wintrust Bank, Walgreens, and the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Pepper co-authored What's Black About It with the late Herb Kemp. Black Still Matters in Marketing. And Let Me Explain Black Again, exploring blind spots and Black insights from marketing to understand Black culture and perspectives. Many market research and marketing industry leaders regard these books as essential guides to understanding and applying Black cultural insights to drive brand relevance and inclusive growth. It is her passion for helping brands understand Black value that earned Pepper several awards, including the Dr. Margaret Burroughs Legacy Award for her contributions to DEIB from the DuSable Museum of African American History and Culture, ICAVA Women of Impact, the Insights Association Laureate Recognition, Moby Spirit of Deep Hart Gibson Award for Excellence in Market Research, Target Market News Max Award for Market Research Executive of the Year, and MAFA Trailblazer Award. Pepper is also a founding blogger for Advertising Age's Big Tent multicultural blog, has blogged for Forbes and The Medium, and enjoys engaging with and mentoring young professionals. Pepper, welcome.
Thank you. You don't have to read all of that. You're supposed to edit, but thank you. I was trying to shorten.
We do so much editing already in life. Let's not edit.
Woo! I love it. Let's not edit. I'm already getting sound bites from you.
Let us not edit. Yeah, right? Oh my gosh, Pepper, I was drawn to you for so many reasons. I'm a, if you could say, graduated 20-year corporate marketer. And I say that because it didn't feel good to me anymore. Marketing paired with the way corporate America is run, and I won't broad brush and suggest that every corporate workplace is like that, and around 35, I started to remember who I am on a soul level, and I realized and remembered, I would say remembered, because of course I came here in this space and time because I'm a healer and a warrior and a social justice advocate. So I care about all humans and being able to express the fullest expression of themselves. And you can imagine how that started to feel pinchy for me in the box of corporate America.
Understand.
You get that more than anybody, yeah.
Understand. Because I thought too, if you worked hard, you could get ahead. That was my parents, told me that. And it wasn't like that. It was all the game. And I learned early that I did not know how to play the game, and I was not interested in learning how to play the game.
When I left corporate, there was something around, you mentioned game. I was like, I don't want to play a game. I don't want to play mental gymnastics.
Right.
I don't want to have to go through landmines. Can we just be like human about it? And I really start to remember, I was like, oh, okay, I'm meant to be on the other side, out in the wild. So after 20 years of suppressing, for instance, I would have loved to say, you know what? I'm in my luteal phase of my menstrual cycle today, and so I don't feel like presenting. Somebody got it for me. Like, I want that kind of humanity within the workplace, especially for women.
Right.
So.
Exactly. I choose to do purposeful work. I've been replacing the word want with the word choose. Because whatever we want, we already have, really. So we already have it. And if you keep saying, I want, we will always be in that position of wanting. But if you choose, I choose. And it's like, the universe is like, let's help her.
Exactly. I'll typically say, like, I get to. Similar to choose, like I get to do this. And to your point,
I like that.
for whomever you ladder up to or look up to, God, source, creator, universe. To your point, when we consistently say, I want, I want, I want, there's not like an energetic match that you're holding up to give to the universe. It's just like the universe is kind of like, cool, you want that? Okay. Okay. And that's it.
Right. And
There's
that's
nothing to
it.
really match
Right.
to it. That's it. That's where it ends. So,
Right. 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 Right.
so your book, let me explain Black again. Where did this title come from and what brought this book into the world?
Well, the first two books that I wrote, the first one that I wrote with Herb was in 2005. What's Black About It? There was no iPhone, no social media as we know today, no Facebook, no none of that. So the second book, Black Still Matters in Marketing, because we're always telling this story over and over again and just reshaping it. And it, covered those things that were missed in 2005. Herb passed away a number of years ago, so I wrote the second book and then the third book. Let me explain. Black again came from, well, let's start from the bottom. People keep telling me after a presentation or conducting research or workshop, they'll pull me to the side and clandestinely say, I didn't know. I didn't know. It was that, and it was the disruptors of Trump, COVID, and George Floyd that increased the conversation around race. It was the fact that where Black history is being erased as we speak, it's being erased. It's making sure that this history and insights are included for AI and for strategists. The fact that millennials are now the largest segment of the population and they have a lot of impact on culture. And then because Black people have even more impact on culture globally. So I wanted to tell the story, wanted to go in depth a little bit more. I did introduce 7 blind spots that a lot of business leaders in society have. So it's a lot broader and a lot deeper than the other books. And I love this book. It is my Bible. I can't believe I didn't bring it to show you all the stickies and the notes that I have on it. I may have to go grab it. But I love it. But unfortunately, it was launched in 2023. Like, yeah, we're going to have some book tours and book sales, and then the dismantling of DEI happened. And I've been here before when Barack Obama was elected president. I was so excited. That was my second book, Black Still Matters in Marketing. I said, well, this is great timing. 2012, we got a Black president, but there was a perception that we were post-racial. And so there was a disinvestment in Black research, Black marketing, Black media, Black advertising. So another downturn for Black businesses. But I still see our influence. We need to continue to tell this story and to have a place where people can come and read about it. Our history is the most important insight for understanding Black people because all of our beliefs and behaviors ladder back up to it. And importantly, because of these beliefs and behaviors, society follows these beliefs and behaviors. When you ask people what's white culture and what's Black culture, white culture is appropriating Black culture. A lot of it is. Not only exclusively, but a lot of it is, without giving us any credit. So the story of history, critical race theory, is American history. Black history is American history. American history is Black history. We should not be erased. We should learn from it. We could grow from it.
Mm-hmm. What year was it? Would I have been in American history? It would have been early 90s, early mid 90s. And I now know I was being raised and taught to be an amazing white feminist and not truly understanding the full scope of all women, all humanity. And I was probably even taught a fraction of what is being even removed from the books even today. Interestingly, that you bring up like white isn't a culture in my purview. So this is launched for me. Okay, where did I come from? Because it wasn't here. And I've been here multi-generationally, but also the question of who a citizen is these days is under question. What does it mean to be a US citizen? And when I talk to indigenous people of the original America, they're like, how far back do you want to go? Like, do you want to pull at that thread? And so it's launched me into this really fascinating journey into genuinely where is my bloodline and where was the land that I originated from. And to come to find out it is Scottish and British. So I'm like, that's cool. I want to now learn Scottish and like more about those types of those cultures because that's actually what I connect to more than any mainstream religious cultures or values or traditions or holidays. Those have never necessarily landed with me. So to your point, yeah, white is in the culture. Like I'm sure you've seen some of those things like people will Google or do an AI, what is American culture? And it's like fat white people. It's like, whoa. Have you seen those?
No, I have put in AI what is white culture and what
Mm,
is black culture, and I love that. It's been giving me a lot of a really good information because I wanted to write something about it or do an infographic about it, and not to be punitive to white people, not finger pointing, but just when we tell the truth, it does make people uncomfortable. But black people, we've been uncomfortable forever,
yeah.
forever.
I've had the opportunity to refine my social circles over the past several years because I am the person that will say, well, not all people, meaning people will, in passing, the standard or the default will always go to like what a white person feels or thinks. And I'll say, well, actually, and because I have that, well, actually, people don't like that. And I'm proud of that, where I've gotten to a place where actually, did you know this is true about this? And again, to your point, not villainizing. But when I'm in a group of white women, let's say, and they're really, really stoked about 1920 women's suffrage, I'm like, did you know that only white women could vote at that time? And did you know that black women couldn't until 65? They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, you don't know that. And actually, it was all types of non-white women that phased from 1920 to 65. It wasn't everybody then. Anyway,
That's
just an
right.
example of how I try to educate, because you know as well as I do, and let me know if this lands with you. It's like if I'm making someone wrong, I'm genuinely not trying to do that. I'm saying, did you know?
I like that. I like that. I think to disagree or inform in kindness is a good way of communicating to people. And I'm learning to do that. I used to be hardcore like Malcolm X. And you did this to us. And you did. I had acronyms. I had an acronym Clueless, and I can't even remember what it was, but it was something terrible. And people weren't talking to me after a presentation. This was like 2003 or so, I was doing this. And I really want people to hear me as much and to understand as much. So I just started just telling our story, our truth, instead of this is what you did. This is who we are. These are some of the blind spots. These are lessons. These blind spots are also insights. These 7 blind spots that I talk about in my book, they're also insights for connection. And not only connection to Black people, but connection to other groups as well because we have learned over the years when you get it right with Black people from a marketing standpoint or communication standpoint, you get it right with mainstream. And
Mm.
partly, or greatly, I should say, because of our lived experiences, our struggles. We've had to be resourceful. We've had to be innovative. We've had to be industrious. We've had to be creative. And out of that comes our culture of realness and style and swag and food and dance and language and the very things that globally and in the US people appropriate. And there's one thing to copy, if you will, because that could be flattery. But when you appropriate the culture, you're not giving credit to what you've learned and to what you're doing from where you receive the information to do and to learn. That's the problem with appropriation, is taking it on as if this is what we do. This is ours. This is created by us. So it's just been such a big fight, Amy. Black people, US born in particular, we're more likely to think about blackness 90% of the time versus white people think about whiteness 10% of the time. When we go places, especially, I'm a baby boomer, especially boomers, we're like, okay, there's no Black people here because we're always looking for ourselves. I think younger people do that too. We're looking for ourselves, looking for some kind of connection, representation, something all the time. And then having to code switch with people who are non-Black to help them feel more comfortable with us. It's not about us needing food because we could talk to each other the way we talk, but we have to help them feel comfortable with us. So, and it's just on and on and on. But being Black is wonderful, and it is also exhausting. It's exhausting. Yeah, very exhausting.
Mm. Not that it's at all the same, but I resonate with you around how I used to be enraged at the slightest ignorance around misogyny, racism, bigotry. I used to just get enraged where my peace was so disturbed that I had no clarity toward my unique brilliance, the magic that I have as a dynamic transformer. I
Mm.
didn't have access to that when I was like enraged. So it's been a really big journey for me as well. It doesn't mean I'm less passionate about making space for every human that is here, understanding it to the extent that you can, because I will never understand exactly what it means to be a Black woman, lived experience. But I'm very passionate about immersing myself and understanding and including and being part of rooms of women and humans that don't look like me.
One of the things we talk about, Black people, and I think you mentioned the word humanity. I get where you're coming from in terms of starting with the baseline of people who are not.
Able-bodied. We just don't see that representation anywhere.
But if we think about, which is, we think about what humanity is, and to speak through a lens of humanity and what that looks like, it could reach that person. Empathy is considered a soft skill. On one hand, some people are dismissing it, but I'm seeing where empathy is becoming a lot more important for leaders and leadership. Those soft skills, having some kind of moral value and clause is becoming a lot more. Maybe that's one of the learnings from this current administration. The importance of empathy, the importance of understanding someone's struggle, the importance of having cultural insights. It's so crazy that marketing industry lacks cultural insights overall, and then they start dismantling DEI. They start pushing away the opportunity to learn from people who are different from them. That's a terrible business decision.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
it doesn't even make sense. But they're following along like sheep with this
Sure.
directive from this current administration. So I like the idea of working from back to front and thinking about humanity and how would you talk to a person who is not able to understand. And wasn't that doctrine of Jesus Christ is to speak for those who were less than, less able, more needy, that you start there.
One of the things I remember in corporate was even when we were building any marketing campaigns ever, and we're using any lifestyle graphics ever, there would be very few of us that would ask the question. It's like, are we going to have a rotation of lifestyle graphics? And the question would be like, why? I'm like, well, do you want to represent every type of customer we have? And they're like, well, that's impossible. We could never do that. I'm like, is that true? So what would you say to those people that are like, we couldn't possibly capture all type of humans that we're talking to?
Well, I mean, it's still the importance of targeting, knowing who you are really
Yeah.
talking to and why. There may be some value a little bit in that, but if you start with your target and your purpose, you have an opportunity to reach a broader segment. And so that's one of the things that I've been doing is moving from this Black American market researcher to this cultural insights expert, where I am using Black insights as a growth strategy for reaching other people because we're already leading. According to Cantor research, 62% of Americans agree that Black culture influences them. White, you're correct, is not a culture. It is a color. Black is a culture. This is why we capitalize Black. And so many of the Associated Press members do as well to capitalize Black. But you can have a messaging that can be more global and can reach a broader audience by understanding the humanity of people and understanding the lived experiences of Black people, for example, provides the opportunity to talk about those experiences and identify. For example, years ago, fathers were in ad campaigns were considered as goofy, kind of like a little sidebar. They didn't add any value to the messaging. And then a Black agency, Burrell Advertising, created this ad for Tide with Downy. It was in 2004, like 21 years ago. And it's a classic ad. And what Burrell does, as many Black agencies do, is to flip the script on stereotypes. So Black men are one of the most vilified groups of people, but we know in our households and neighborhoods, there are good Black men. There are more good Black men than what society says there are. So they showed this Black man as a caring caretaker. He was shown in a bed on crisp white sheets tied with Downy to show the cleanness of the tide. He has a child taking a nap on his chest. Both are clad in white t-shirts. There's no dialogue, just this neo soul music, the camera showing the father anyway. So we had an opportunity to test that. And it was like, we need to test it with white female head of households to see if they're okay with it. I'm sure they'll be fine. And Black female head of households. The white women got the message. What's the main message? Tide gets clothes clean, cute baby, great. Showed it to Black women. They went crazy. They went crazy. They talked about how our men are good men. Our men have great values. They noticed he was wearing a wedding band. He went on and on and on. That commercial helped Tide achieve the highest return on investment of any Tide brand. Importantly, that commercial, which was slated to run only in Black media, then ran in mainstream media and did extremely well, extremely well. And what it did was it, not only for just showcasing Black men as caring caretakers, but it set a precedent for fathers everywhere. And so we start seeing more and more fathers as caring caretakers, taking care of the kids on the diaper packaging. And this agency did not get any credit for that. Dove for Men came out probably in 2015 or so, 10 years ago. Dove for Men gets credit for helping to put men on the block as caring caretakers and showing them as serious fathers. But it wasn't them. It was that Tide commercial that opened the door and paved the way for them. So it's those kinds of understanding and insights that could help grow a client's business. That Tide with Downy commercial that ran in general market media eventually helped them achieve the highest return on investment of any Tide brand. It wasn't just Black people buying it, it was white people, and they set a precedent. So, we lead, we continue to lead, and it's a classic commercial, and I still show it every now and then. Had that been a white father and a white child, there's another message there. Had that been a white father and a white child, yes, I speak English. I get it. But are you talking to me? The talking to me comes with the Black father and the child. It would have never happened like that. It probably would have never, it would have just been another commercial. So we have been talking about starting with Black and leading with Black. Leading with Black insights is not new. I first heard it from, I think, Bill Lamar and Neil Golden. They were both chief marketing officers at different times for McDonald's, but they both talked about how you lead with Black insights. And I've just been bringing it back, because it still has tremendous, tremendous value. But it's difficult now because when you think Black, you think DEI. And if you think DEI, then you don't want the Black people or you don't want Black anything. It impacts everything. It's not just in the workplace. And I'm just so shocked at how many companies have just followed along with this. There was no genuine commitment then, I don't think. They were doing it to check a box or not. We don't have to do that. And it all started, as you know, or began again as a result of the Supreme Court ruling against affirmative action for college admissions. And that triggered this whole, well, DEI was being dismantled like 10 years ago. Slowly, I noticed that some of these larger companies that had these multicultural centers of excellence inside the companies, they were taking those down. Why are you doing that? So I noticed that several years ago. And then it was just like a tsunami just across the board. Is terrible.
That is how I felt. Like it's both shocking, but seeing what I saw on the inside of the way the corporation I worked for built DEI. Everything DEI was built on top of the systems that were rooted in white supremacy, patriarchy, colonialism, capitalism. So it all felt like a house of cards to me.
Right. We were like grateful for it. And we know we've always had this 150% rule in the Black community. We're always told that that's going to be the expectation and you need to meet that. You have to be at 150% to meet their norm. You have to be above and beyond what they think the norm is. So going into companies and getting promoted and working hard at that is because we deserved it. Maybe in some cases, some people were not qualified, but not in most cases. We were way qualified, overqualified for these positions, and we earned it to be there, working hard, studying, getting degrees. So I was like, how do you trust these companies again? How do we trust them?
I don't. But for me personally, I don't. I'm looking more inward and how I can build sustainability within my four walls of my home, like gardening and shopping local and creating or making everything that I can. That's not to say that I won't ever again, but it's just I'm aware and conscious, and my sole purpose is to create space for all humanity. Okay. What aligns with that outside of me? If it doesn't, then that's a no. That's it. I would love to know what you're excited about or what's coming up for you. But first, if you want to share the 7 blind spots.
Oh, yes. So here's the book. Let me explain Black again. And here's my book. I use it as my Bible. I'm telling you, it's my go-to. And I recently redid these stickers because it was really bad, but I pulled some out and I recently redid them. So I talk about these 7 blind spots, which are also insights for connecting with Black people. And the first one and the most important one is the avoidance of America's unbridled history. It is, oh, as I said before, our beliefs, our treatment, our beliefs and behavior all ladder back up to that blind spot. It reminds us that Black people have this lens, US born Black people in particular, have this lens in terms of how history has impacted us in terms of how we see ourselves and how we perceive how others see us. And we have those beliefs and behaviors as a result of that, colorblind and badge value and code switching and smoldering coals. All of this comes from there. The second one is a privilege and the deficit of empathy, how we talk about how that's so important. Another one is a misunderstanding the language of Black culture. Language has become the cultural identifier. I remember a client said to me, they speak English, don't they? And it's like, yes, I speak English, but are you talking to me? Is it relevant? Does it resonate? Is it authentic? Does it have positive realism? Meaning, does it talk about how we really, really live, and is it authentic? And then there's a misunderstanding or misjudging Black identity, Black versus African American versus BIPOC, people of color. We talk about all that. We talk about the mixed race group of people that's growing. That's important. The fact that Black people are becoming more unapologetically Black, that is driven by young people caring less about what society and white people think, which is why I can be on your podcast with a hairstyle like that. Not a few years ago, it'd be absolutely inappropriate, but I'm wearing these shoes, I'm wearing this dress, I'm saying this like this. I've been amazed at some of the podcasts and some of the language, how, oh my God, it's a lot of cursing going on there, or the grammar might, but it's about the message. And I'm talking like this because this is the way my people talk. And so it's unapologetically Black. And it really gives other permission to be who you are unapologetically. It gives other people permission to do that as well. The fact that we're not post-racial, no, Virginia, we're not post-racial. We have the Obamas, we have Oprah, we have all these celebrities. We have Robert Smith, who's a Black billionaire, John Rogers, who owns this financial business, investment business, Ariel Capital, where Melody Hobson is the CEO and she's married to George Lucas. I mean, so we have these people, Ken Chenault, who's the former CEO of American Express for 17 years. So there's a perception because of that we are post-racial. And there are some people in the Black community that made it through the funnel. When we think about opportunities, we have a funnel. We are presented with a funnel to get through there. White people or other people have a 4-lane highway. Go right ahead. And however long it takes you to get there, some people are going to stumble and fall because they're in a different class. But you got this 4-lane highway and we have a funnel. Some people make it through the funnel. Some people do make it through the funnel of success. And I think others of us are trying to get through it. And that might be where the crabs in the barrel about Black people not helping each other comes from. We're all trying to get through this funnel. And then the last thing is the fact that we have been, for generations, we've been fighting for equality. So we talk about that generational fight for equality, how it's just been going on from the boomers, civil rights, the millennials. It was the Zimmerman verdict that sparked it for them. For Gen Z, it was the George Floyd murder. So it's just been ongoing. And now, God, here we are, and everything is going backwards. We also talk about the fact that we're not post-racial. I forgot to mention this. This is important, that Black, brown, and poor people are still navigating broken systems. Healthcare is broken. Housing, broken. Finance, broken. Education, broken. The justice system is broken. And religion, even though we can't talk about it a lot, is broken. So we're still navigating these broken systems. So in spite of the Obamas and Oprah and Beyonce and other celebrities, and maybe your manager is Black who's gotten promoted because they worked hard. But all of us, don't have those opportunities. We are capable, we are valuable, but we still have these pitfalls, these holes in our path that we have to navigate.
Thank you for sharing the blind spots, because I think it's easy for a lot of people to sit and say, like, well, what can I do? So understanding first, do your own research, buy Pepper's book, and understand where your privilege shows up and where you might have those unknowings, and not suggesting it's your fault, but just teach yourself, like learn it yourself, and then go out and about in your community. So Pepper, what's coming up for you? What moves are you excited to be making?
Well, I love that question because the word excited.
You're like, but is there? Yeah, right.
Well, you know what? I'm always grateful, but I am excited about pivoting from this market researcher. I'm still doing some market research stuff. I'm not trying to grind like I was before, to a cultural insights expert. So instead of being asked to conduct a study, I've been asked to be on the set of a commercial shoot, a shoot where Black actors are involved, a shoot where it's designed for Black people. Maybe a Black agency created the script. No, it usually doesn't happen that. It's usually a general market agency that's created a script for the Black audience. So they'll have me come on set virtually most of the time because it's often done in Europe. And I am providing insights. Now, many times companies want me to tell them what to do. And ideally, I should come to the table, look at the script, what are your objectives, what are you trying to do before we even get there. But being there during the casting, for example, colorism is real. Darker skinned people globally are perceived as having less value. So I've noticed that sometimes the directors and people on the set are recruiting people that look more like them. I want that actor with the green eyes and the curly hair and the lighter skin. And so I will go in and talk to them about that. I give them the insight. about colorism, how Black people have said we want to see more medium to darker skinned people in the media. And then you make the decision from that. So I've been doing that and enjoying that and doing workshops on helping people use Black insights to create a strategy growth for their businesses. So that's been exciting. It's challenging because you show up Black. It's like this DEI stamp is across your face. So again, just like showing up Black and perceiving you have less value, showing up Black with all of your expertise, all of the work that you've done, and still being perceived as having less value and being challenged by that. So it's a challenge, but I'm still excited about it. And I'm working on messaging for TikTok that will help people understand the value of Black people, as a people, as well as a market segment. So coming up with some ideas that can foster that for social media, not just TikTok. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about developing more presentations. I have Black Insights presentations that I do and tailor for companies and their brands and their marketing challenges. But then to just start creating some Black Insights presentations that speak to the opportunities of business growth or speak to some of the things that are going on today. One of the things that I am doing, though, too, is moving from corporate to community. I am excited about that. And I've been saying that as a mantra. Everything is working out for me. This is what I choose. And I'm seeing that I'm getting more calls from community type organizations. I did a presentation for a wonderful conference. It was for Parsec Education. They have technology to help with educators and administrators for the school system so that they can have more positive outcomes. But they typically get more educators and people related in the education industry to come and speak to them. And they invited me to bring my insights from the marketing industry and the Black Insights industry and to conduct some workshops. It went really well, but I had to study, I had to prepare these insights. What does this mean for educators? What's the application of this insight? What's the application of this idea that you're sharing for them? So I was challenged by that and I absolutely loved it. So I've been getting some projects like that where I have to go in and talk more to the company's employees, more the junior employees or factory workers instead of just the senior marketing people. So I am excited about that, Amy. And I love the question. No one has asked me that question. And to ask the question during these times where, we are being trolled. Black people are being trolled again. It never stopped, but it just, it goes on and on. I really value your questions and your thoughtfulness. I really do. I appreciate it because as it makes me think more about the opportunities instead of, oh, woe is me. How did this happen? So I appreciate
Oh,
it.
thank you, Pepper. And I was magnetized to you. And that's what you're creating. And I feel called, like I feel like you and I are going to create something in Chicago together.
I'm telling you, when I found out you were in the area, I'm like, oh God, we got to go to dinner. And we could do a lunch. You have to come a little ways. Wait, girl, I can't wait.
I can't either. This is what I'm excited about. This is where I always share with everyone I talk to, more than one thing can be true at once, meaning for me to find gratitude, appreciation, and happiness or joy every single day within my own energetic space
Same,
does
same.
not mean that I'm not acutely aware of what's happening outside my energy field.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm drawn to a post that you actually reposted 2 months ago that really spoke to me in that similar vein, which is love for my people does not mean hate for other people. So again, more than one thing can be true at once. I've chosen in this space and time to amplify the women of the world that are creating the existence for all humanity to live here as their birthright. And that looks like women right now for me. That doesn't mean by virtue of that, I don't see value in men or non-binary and things of that nature. So
Absolutely. But I love where you're going with this because gratitude, I think it is because we see so much injustice and pain That's what gratitude is. That not, oh, I'm glad it didn't happen to me, but how grateful I am to be able to fill in the blank. Just to fill in the blank. I think about that every day. I've been walking my errands and still not enough, but I've been walking my errands and I like listening to audiobooks and I couldn't find my AirPods, but it gave me a chance to be grateful to think about movement, that I'm moving and I could feel the wind on my face and the sun, I could see it and I could feel it and I'm not in pain. And oh my God, just the little things like that. If one is ill, the only thing they think about is getting better. It's not the bills, it's not watering the plants, it's not who said what about me last week. It's none of that. So I think gratitude too is the ability to see some of the brokenness in the world and still be grateful for whatever it is that you have. I was listening to the book Let Them by Mel Robbins. I love it. She talked about gratitude. She said 1 in 4 people do not have access to clean drinking water. If you have access to clean drinking water, she writes, then you have something to be grateful for. Just even that. And I was like, oh my God.
Before I open my eyes each day, I'm grateful that I'm able to wake up
Yes.
in a bed. Let's start
Yes.
there.
There you go.
So
I think about that too. The pillow, the bed, the sheets, the
I've got a
blanket.
blanket. I'm warm or cool or whatever I want to be. It's not suggesting that you just smack a smiley face on top of all the stuff that's happening. It's more about finding the things in your life like air and clean water so that finding that gratitude is actually the how you're able to stand in your light and reverberate the energy that the collective needs to be able to stand in their own light, however, by any degree. Of course, I could be curling up in the fetal position and hiding under something all day long. And I know the world needs my light. So that's how I'm able to show up is just to say, I'm so grateful and I appreciate that I have a bed, I have a warm shower, and I have food to eat. Start
Yes,
there. If you
exactly.
can't find anything else, start there. And
Yeah.
again, if you don't want to feel grateful, don't force it, but just give yourself a little space. So, gratitude, appreciation, and allowing more than one thing to be true could be how you manage or navigate your personal day to day. Just give yourself grace that it won't and it doesn't have to look the same every day. Don't
I,
force yourself
I
through
agree.
anything.
I agree. Gratitude is a big part of my happiness. It helps us choose happiness, I think. A girlfriend sent us a text message about putting in notes in a weekly notes, everything at the end of the week that you are grateful for. I'm still doing mine and I have like little colored stickies and at the end of the week, I think about everything that I was grateful for that week and I put it in a jar. And at the end of the year, I'm going to go back and read each of the notes. But it has helped me to sustain my sanity, to help me feel good about myself, my work. I hate that we're in this time of this dismantling of DEI, trolling Black people, trolling people who are different, who don't look like the mainstream white people.
Mhm.
I hate that. But, or I should say, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to do the work that I've done because it's purposeful and it's what I wanted to do is what was needed, what still is needed. I'm driven by this to make sure that society understands that Black people have value as a people as well as a market segment in so many ways. It's so many ways. We are not those stereotypes that many hold on to about us. That's what keeps me awake at night. That's why I was driven to write these books, to do the work that I do, to speak, to do workshops. I used to send out market snapshots before social media. I was doing everything I could so that people can see another side to Black people. And I have no regrets. I am disappointed, all these years to end up where we are. But I get to meet people like you, so
Pepper, the work's not stopping.
No,
Here's my personal belief. As always, Black women are showing us how to be strategic and pivot the work so it doesn't stop. It just looks a little bit differently.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
we're creating that in Chicago. I'm calling it now. So, Pepper, as we start to wind down, you felt called to pivot your work from Black insights to cultural insights.
From a Black researcher to cultural insights and using Black insights as an opportunity, as a growth strategy, still talking about Black in a way, but not as directly. The
Well,
research that I was doing was mostly qualitative research focus
mm,
groups. And I love, back in the day, Amy, we bring Black people in and we have conversations about Black life and who they are and what they want. And then we talk about a product or a brand. We do all these exercises. And today it's more concept and copy testing. So it's pick an ad. And I was trained and told, no more than 3 to 5 ads that you want to show in a focus group. And I've shown 16, 24 ads. And it's asking people, do they like that font? Do they like the color of that woman's blouse? Oh my God. And that's not learning to me. Those are some things you make the decision at the office level, but when you put it in research, you want to learn something about the people. So I wasn't enjoying it as much.
I was wondering, so my question is, what made you feel called to pivot?
I
Thinking about
was forced to do this
oh,
though.
you do feel
I
okay.
was, oh,
If you
absolutely.
so if you want to touch on that, if you that you feel forced that you had to pivot.
I had to pivot because I had to pivot because everything was completely shutting down. I had approved speaking engagements for companies, things that got approved in October for January, and it just went away. There are certain things that just went away. No, no, I'm sorry, we're not doing that. Just ghost. And I might hear from an agency what happened, but it was the dismantling of DEI. So there was just so many things that just immediately stopped, immediately. So I had to think about, what else I could do and using my expertise and my experience. How do I move forward?
Okay.
So yeah, I was kind
You
of,
feel, I'm
we're
sorry you
being
felt
forced
forced.
to pivot, but it's okay.
We trust the process and the other side, no matter no
Say
matter
that again, girl.
we
We try.
trust the process and the other side. I like to say 10 years from now, when you and I are at lunch and we're like, remember in 25 when we talked for the first time and we were talking about how we both felt beholden or forced to do this, and look how amazing, look what we built, look what we created since then. That's that's what I look forward to. That's what I trust, and that's what I look.
Ooh, good for you. I love that. I've been talking about trusting the process a
Mm,
few months ago, and then I gotten away from saying that, and so I have to write it again in my notes so I could see it again and participate in the miracle. Don't just sit back and
exactly. So
think.
I call them glimmers. So it's like in our day-to-day human, things can feel bad, and I can still trust the process and feel
Mm,
appreciation toward the glimmers that I already have and that are here. Like all of that is true together.
I love that. That's a that's a affirmation.
Mm.
It is.
Oh,
I love the idea of the glimmers and how you connect that with trusting the process. And I
yeah.
do. I trust the process and I am participating in the miracle while I trust the process. So, what
Mm.
is it that I can do? What ideas that I could come up with for myself? And I still think about the question that comes up about the purpose of life. One answer I read was to seek the purpose of life. And the
Mm.
other answer that I found was to serve. And I do think with our gratitude and the work that we're doing, we still have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and our families and our communities. But how do we serve
Mm.
others? How do we do that to help move the needle toward progress and understanding and empathy? Some people say, oh, that's, a bunch of crap. But I think those soft skills are the connection to real success and prosperity. I mean, I think about our country. This is day 79. I don't know how we're going to make it to the end of the year. And I'm an optimistic person, but I don't see it, but I'm going to trust the process. I marched Saturday. I'm going to do what I need to, I'm going to do what I think I need to do. I write my legislators and call them, and we have conversations with each other, friends often, because I'm on all these text groups. I don't know if that's happening with you, but you might be on a group of people that said, hey, a group of us are going to see this play. Do you want to join? If you do, blah, blah, blah. Now that's become like a text group of information where we get videos and statements and conversations. It's like three of those groups. One group is 16 people, one is 8 people, one 6 people, one is 2 people. One I cannot believe. And I'm getting like 35 text messages a day or more with information. But it's the new social media. They're sharing social media information and they're sharing articles. But that's one of the things that's happening, in the Black community. And I kind of like that. And what do we do with this? What do we do? What do we do with this?
We create, and that's just it. We can have good burnout, meaning like all the good stuff that's coming in. So always being mindful of your consumption. Coming back to again, I'll talk from an energy perspective, your gut and your heart. Your energy center in your gut is called the solar plexus. And then, of course, your heart center. Those two centers are actually the ones that are going to be the most helpful in these days where we don't know what the end of the year is going to look like and not be attached to it, but finding within our gut and our heart what is true for you in this very moment. And do you feel safe in your own skin in this very moment? And allow yourself to do what's best for you in that very moment. So choose you so you can choose your community is kind of the vibe I share. Because if I'm burnt out and my body just forces me to stop, then I can't show up for me or my community. So, and it's not selfish. Like there's a line between only focusing on yourself and individualistic kind of vibe. It's more about taking care of yourself so you can take care of thy neighbor, whatever that looks like for you. It's going to show up differently every single day. Like the quote unquote fight or the resistance, it will look differently every single day, and allow for that. Don't let anyone judge you for the way that you have capacity to show up in that given time frame. For instance, in my latter luteal phase of my menstrual cycle, I'm gonna be of no service to be out there out and about. So let me stay home and let me take care of my body. So Pepper, where can we find you and support your work?
Peppermiller.net, my website, my publisher's website, ParamountBooks.com. I'm on LinkedIn at Pepper Miller. I'm on Instagram at PepperMiller40, and I'm on Blue Sky at Pepper Miller. I gave up X. I gave it up, even though I had followers and they didn't necessarily come over, but I got to get off this platform. Pepper Miller, if you just Google me, Pepper Miller Chicago, you'll find all my stuff, writings, Ad Age, Forbes, whatever. I've been doing this a long time, just again, being driven by wanting or choosing that people understand our value. I continue to do that. That's who I am. That's part of who I am. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Closing remarks as we wrap up.
I really wish people would understand who we are, that we are safe, we are wonderful, we are influential, we are kind. There's a statement keeps going around that, the Project 2025, one of the founders said that he believes Black people are inferior and their role is to serve white people. And that's a big part of Project 2025 is squashing that. And so many people believe that. There's a book that came out, The Bell Curve, that talked about Black people not being smart enough and how we're less than. And I'm just constantly pushing for society and business leaders to understand our value, again, as a people as well as a market segment. It is truly what keeps me awake at night. It's why I've written 3 books. It's why I speak at conferences, some paid and some not, to keep getting the information out, to keep sharing the information, why I do these podcasts, why I'm grateful to be asked to do the podcast. We are different, but not deficient. We need to, as a country, to not be afraid of differences. Differences can lead to opportunities. Differences can lead to innovation. And Black people are different. Yes, I speak English, but are you talking to me? Do you understand my struggles and my culture and how wonderful we are and our influence? So those are things, I guess, the closing remarks that I would want people to understand. I guess different does not mean deficient. It's an opportunity. That's the main thing, I guess.
Thanks, Pepper.
Thank you, Amy. I mean, I really appreciate it. It's so lovely meeting you.